Brothers album.
Oh, great. So
the two of us.
And you have that album, or?
I don't know where that album is right now. Maybe whether we lost, got it back. It's the one that Lee had for a while.
Oh, Lee had it. Okay, maybe he scanned in the pictures. I hope.
But from Delta, from Telluride, we went to Delta, Colorado,
And what did your father serve there in terms of law?
he was deputy district attorney.
Wow.
In Delta, and my folks had quite a social life in Delta, and my mother developed sinus problems, and her tonsils were bad. And the year that I was in the 5th grade, my mother developed what's that, when you have albumin in the kidneys?
Is it like a pre-diabetic type thing, or?
No. No, it's close to kidney failure. And at that time they didn't have dialysis. And they put my mother to bed. Now I can remember she was getting ready to entertain some sort of a luncheon and stuff, and her ankles swelled to where they were very large. Now they call that condition, and I should remember, but
it's not congestive heart failure.
No, it was kidney failure.
Oh.
And they put her to bed, and we hired a girl who wouldn't have been too much out of high school, and but she was a big girl, big farm girl, strong, and she would carry my mother to and they would put my mother in a hot bath, I think with Epsom salt, to get her to perspire. And then Letty would wrap her in a blanket and take her back to her bed so that she could just perspire. And my mother got better.
Isn't that something?
But she was in bed that whole winter. And the doctor told my dad that my mother just could not live another year in Colorado, that she had too much, there was too much going against her sinuses and all. So that was the year that my dad took my mother and my younger sister Evelyn out to California to visit Aunt Allie and Uncle Waldo. They were in Martinez, California at that time. And the humidity out there was not good for my mother.
Oh, not good. Oh.
It wasn't good. So they came back to Phoenix, and that was when Eloise and I stayed up on the mountain with my Aunt Elda and her cowboy husband. And that was my cousin Margie that you've heard me speak of.
Yes.
She's a year younger than I, and
So she's Elda's daughter?
she was the eldest daughter, and her older girl was a year younger than Eloise. And so we stayed up on the mountain.
Did you have a good time?
Oh yeah, it was
It was kind of fun?
yes. Margie had her own little pony. It had been born in the winter, or when it was cold, and they hadn't gotten the mare in, and she had the colt out in the cold, and it was Margie's uncle's horse, and he thought that the colt would never have the lung capacity that a cow pony needs, and so he gave it to Margie.
Oh.
And
So you got to ride it?
well, no, I never rode that one.
Oh, you didn't?
They gave me one of the old plow horses. And one time we were out, Margie and I, and a bee stung my old, and I just hung on to the saddle horn, and we went under a tree, and it caught my collar, and so I got a rope burn around my neck, but my collar, it finally tore.
I would think so.
So when
Did it
you
tear
know,
you, push you off the horse though?
no, I hung on. And after the bee sting didn't hurt the old horse that much, it was fine. It just clopped along again. So, but that's how I learned to ride a horse. Was on that, you know, how you guide a horse and all that.
This was during a summer. School was out.
Yeah, school was out.
Were your parents exploring options as to where to live so your mother
Yes.
could be more healthy?
A more mild
Climate.
for my mother, but the dampness in California was not good for her.
Because sometimes that can help your sinuses, but evidently not in this case.
No, and now during that illness, my mother, she had, you know, so many friends, and at first they came, but she was sick so long that
people stopped coming.
People stopped coming. There were just a few that
This was
stayed
in Delta.
In Delta. It stayed good friends. It stayed good friends for the rest of their lives.
Oh, good.
But not many. And so my mother became not antisocial, but she never became
as social.
Now she did join Eastern Star and had good friends there, but and they had friends, attorney friends, but she never gave parties again or that sort of thing. And
Was she better off in Phoenix?
Yes, our first year in Phoenix, she had her tonsils out. She also had her appendix out.
Wow. Now,
And-
did they stay a few weeks in that exploratory summer when they went to California? They came back through Phoenix. They stayed a few weeks to see how she did, or
No, not really.
they just thought to try it?
My dad just thought that was a good place. And
And it worked?
yes. And we moved down in August,
Oh, my.
and there was not air conditioning.
You were not happy probably at first.
No, I was not happy. I did not like it at all. I missed when we were in Delta, we lived next door to a family. He was the manager of Penny's. And they had a cabin up on Grand Mesa. And they had one daughter. She was about a year younger than I was. But we living next door, we were buddies. And they used to take me with them up to the cabin on the mesa.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, I could not remember that between Delta and Grand Junction, there was a lot of alkaline desert that's barren. And
You'd forgot about that.
that I didn't think about until I was much older. And I realized that the beauty around Phoenix so far surpassed the beauty around
The West.
the junction and even between Delta and Montrose.
Oh,
You know, it isn't that kind of country, which is beautiful.
but at least it wasn't quite as hot. That might have been part of it.
I don't know that the heat bothered me as much as just,
The desert.
yeah. And, well, you know, it took a while to get friends.
Sure. You were by then in
I was in the 6th grade.
6th grade.
And
And when and where was Aunt Ev born?
Eva was born in Delta, and she was 4.5 years younger. Now, Eloise's birthday was the 23rd of April, and Ev's was the 30th.
Wow.
So they were both.
How many years are between you and Aunt Eloise?
3.5,
Oh, wow.
and then 4.5 between.
So there was quite a span between the
Yes.
kids.
And Eloise was a wonderful, wonderful sister. When I was a little kid, she drugged me around,
Included you?
included me in everything. She was very athletic.
Really?
She could do cartwheels,
Wow.
stand on her head,
Gee.
walk on her hands.
walk on her hands.
Do all these things. And I was flux number one. And she would take my feet and walk me on my hands and say, "See, you can do it." And she would hold my feet and stand me on my head.
Oh.
So that, "See, you can do it."
Oh. Good big sister.
Yeah, she was, like I say, Eloise was always, I can never remember her being anything but good to me. And
Was she artistic too when she was young?
Yes, yes. And she read, and I don't know if you remember, because I think the tree was still there. Big cottonwood tree by the side of the house in Delta. And she would climb up to be even with the second story window with her book in her hand. And she'd sit up there and read.
Oh.
And one night I was to call her for dinner. And I managed to get up in that tree. I don't know how far. Getting down was a whole different ballgame. And my dad climbed up, and he'd put his hand and hold my foot, put it where I could, and he got me down out of the tree.
Mama, was that typical of your dad? He was pretty patient and
Yes.
helpful?
Yes.
What was he like to be around? Do you remember? As
Very
far as
quiet.
Quiet?
Very, he was quiet, and I took advantage of, like, he drove when we were in high school, and my dad would drive us, at that time the junior college was not very far from the high school. And my dad would drive us, he would drop Eloise off at the
Junior
college, drop me off at school, and then she went on out to ASU. And then I would be with Daddy by myself. And I was, and still am, very poor in vocabulary. And we would have these vocabulary words. And on the way to school, I would ask my dad the meanings of the words so that I could pass my vocabulary test. And he used to say, "Well, now you took Latin. That word, the root word is such and such, which from Latin, you know." And instead of taking advantage and learning, I was taking advantage and passing my vocabulary.
With your dad's help.
But yes, he would explain things. As when I was in high school, and my mother had a lot of medical problems, which I realized was a financial burden. And I really, I thought socialized medicine would be a good idea. And I had some socialistic ideas. And my dad very patiently explained to me how when a person lent money, that they expected a return, and that that was the way it worked, and that was good.
Mm-hmm.
I still believe a little that way, that a man's money should not be able to earn as more than a man. But my dad knew economics, and he knew how it worked, and he patiently would explain to me.
Yeah, he sounds like
And,
a really good man.
When he ran for a judgeship in Phoenix, and I was learning to drive, and in that day and age, you drove with a clutch, and I would drive my dad around, and we would put cards in mailboxes and things like that.
You mean for the campaign?
Mm-hmm. And in that day and age, there were not the bridges across the Salt River. One time we were crossing the Salt River on a road. I mean, there was a road, but it was sand. And my dad realized I was letting the car go too slowly, and he tried to help me by telling me to shift gears and stuff. Well, I stalled out in the middle of that sand in the middle of the summer, when everything is hot as Hades. And my dad patiently found something, I don't know what it was, that he could put under the wheels.
For gripping?
Yes. And never, ever scolded me
Wow.
for that.
Wow. You
And
guys sound like a good man. Mama, we're going to have to stop for a pause it for a while and hopefully continue when we get back.
Let's stop.
Okay, Mama, I'll stop. So, Mama, your family had moved to Phoenix, and you had adapted. You didn't like living there at first,
Right.
but then you thought it was quite pretty in the desert there.
I became an Arizonian.
You did. How did your mom do there then? She did better, you said.
Well, like I say, the first year she had her tonsils out, and she had an appendectomy. And
But she never did try to socialize quite
not
as much as in Delta.
Not much.
What was your mother like then at that point? Was she outgoing and talkative, or what was she like to be around? What was she like as a mother?
Very understanding. You know, you just sort of take your parents for granted.
Mm-hmm.
My parents were very tolerant of me.
What did they have to tolerate in you, though, Mama?
Lots.
Well, so you think you had a strong personality?
I don't really know. But like we were Baptists, or my mother was, and the friends I became acquainted with were Episcopalians, and they were tolerant of my going to the Episcopal Church, my choice. And when at about 14 I decided I wanted to join the church, my father said that was fine, only I wasn't a proselyte.
You were not to
Proselytize.
proselytize,
Yes, I was
to keep
That
it
was-
to yourself.
yes, that I did it was my church. And,
You mean not to proselytize within the family?
yes,
What did you like in that church, Mom?
what did I like? I had a Sunday school teacher that was very impressive. I'm trying to remember what group within the church that but it was a more direct contact with, where you sat and meditated for a few minutes to listen to God. And she was a wonderful lady.
How had you met her?
In the church.
So you
she
went
was a
just-
Sunday school teacher.
You went just to try it out one time with a friend, or?
Well, I had friends that were very dear that I think you've all heard me speak of Margaret Charvel.
Mm-hmm.
And we were Girl Scouts together. And then there was, her name was Joanne Shivers. She is now, she married a Canadian named Cytherian. And so she is a citizen of Canada. They live around I think, I'm not sure.
But at any rate, the one scout friend invited you to her church or something?
Well, they were Episcopalians, both of them. And I guess we just, I wanted to go with them, so.
Mm-hmm. But you liked the style of worship and the Sunday school teacher? And
Yes, and I still appreciate that form of worship. When I married Daddy, we did go to both churches, and
both meaning the Episcopalian and
Presbyterian.
Daddy was Presbyterian?
Yes, and Linda and Mark started in the Episcopal Sunday School, and when they began to talk about Mama's church and Daddy's church, that didn't seem right. And at one time, both churches were without ministers. That was in Globe. And I thought nobody's feelings could be hurt if I changed churches when there weren't any ministers. Neither church had a minister. But that was